Man, do I have a story for you guys this week. You are going to want to watch this video. So, can you imagine getting thrown in jail from your HOA?
We're in prison.
Well, God damn, man. Welcome to the real world. Not a minute too soon, I might add.
Yep, that's right. Being thrown in jail from your HOA. Well, it happened. Today we're going to talk about that. Something that happened with one of my friends, and some of the new laws that took place for 2025 regarding HOAs. Hey everybody, I'm Palm Beach's Paul, and welcome back to the channel. And as you can see, I am driving through a neighborhood here. We're located out in West Lake Worth, and this community is in an HOA. Yes, y'all's favorite thing. You guys love HOAs, don't you? I know. And as you can see, we got varying types of homes here. This community's been here for quite a while, about 30 years old, pretty large community. And as we kind of drive through here, you'll notice that, you know, some yards not so nice, other yards really nice. Now we've had a lot of rain, and so, you know, that means a lot of lawns are getting cut like every 2 weeks, actually every week, because the grass has just been growing nonstop. And maintenance people right here. But for the most part, with all the rain, you can see some really nice green yards. But it was pretty dry for a while. Very dry, so much so that I had to start using the water sprinklers on my lawn, which I hate doing because it's not connected to the canal or the lake. It's connected to the city, so it always raises my water bill. But our grass was getting really brown and ugly, and the wife was like, hey, the yard looks bad. Put on the sprinklers, so of course I did, because, well, it looked bad, and I didn't want to get in trouble with my HOA. Well, let's get into the real story here.
For years now, the I-Team has investigated a lot of complaints involving HOAs and how they use their power, but we've never seen anything quite like this.
Yeah, so the woman in the mugshot right here wanted us to tell you her story, and she wanted us to show you her mugshot. She was arrested and spent a week in jail for what started out as an HOA complaint over her lawn. So
I read a report that was shared with me recently about a lady in Tampa, Florida, or in the Tampa area, who lives in an HOA. This lady has her yard, which was brown, and she had gotten a notice that, hey, your yard needs to be, like, you know, seeded and maybe even resodded because it's looking really dead. You need to take care of it. And when you do live in an HOA, you are required to keep your yards in a certain condition, right? They can't be looking all dead and nasty. They're not supposed to. So they had told her that you have to take care of your lawn. Now, on top of that, they also said that her mailbox had a bunch of mold on it. I've been told by my HOA that my mailbox had to be repainted because it was really dirty, so I just pressure washed it, and they were like, okay, looks good. But she had hers under a big tree, and I guess, you know, the mold from the shade and all the moisture. It also said in the report that she had a van that I guess wasn't allowed in the neighborhood, not that kind of vehicle. I guess it looked like a commercial vehicle. And we'll talk about this later, but yes, some commercial vehicles or certain vehicles are prohibited from HOAs. So she had all these warnings, and she said, well, there's a drought. That's one reason why there's been water restrictions, why my yard is dead. There wasn't a lot of rain going on at that time. And we do have water droughts in Florida, especially over in the West Coast sometimes, where they just, you know, they'll tell you, hey, you can only water once a week or something like that. So anyway, she, you know, was fighting with them, kind of, you know, saying she'll take care of it. I guess there was repeated attempts to ask her to do it. And it got to where the HOA got their lawyer involved, and the lawyer took her to court. The HOA took her to court. So she went to court, and she told the judge, you know, this and that, and, you know, the drought and all that. And the judge said, yeah, no. You have 30 days to fix these things, get your grass looking better, you know, get rid of the vehicle, and take care of the mailbox. And if not, well, then we're going to have a problem.
The grass isn't always green in Irina Green's yard, thanks to a big tree that you can see in this drone video, and a drought that led the county to impose watering restrictions last year. didn't help. Green was also cited for having a dirty mailbox covered in mildew due to shade and moisture from that same tree, and for having a cargo van similar to other ones we observed in the neighborhood.
But when the judge told her he had 30 days, he also said that you have another court date that you have to, be back here. And, the 30 days went, and she never showed up to court. Now, she said she took care of the yard and took care of the mailbox, and she sold the van. But she said she never got a notice that she had to appear in court. And I think this is where this story goes. So she was picking her daughter up from camp, and she got pulled over, and the officer said, "You have a warrant for your arrest," and they arrested her. So from not taking care of her grass to ending up in jail, and I guess they would not let her out on bond, and she had to spend 7 days in jail.
I was supposed to receive documentation. Nothing was sent to my home, and I reached out to the courthouse several times to try to find out when was my court date.
The judge signed an order holding Green in contempt of court and issued a warrant for her arrest at the HOA attorney's request.
Now, the reason she went to jail was mainly because she disobeyed a court order to appear back in court. I don't think it's because she didn't take care of her lawn, but the reason she was in court in the first place was because the HOA pursued legal action, and their lawyer that they hired went after her and took her to court and, made her show up in the first place because she hadn't taken care of her lawn. And, reading some of the comments on this story, a lot of people were like, man, that's really abusive. Like, just the HOA really went way above what they should have done. But this is the problem with some HOAs. You have these rules, and people have to either agree that they're going to obey those rules or not agree and end up getting in trouble. And I know you guys are not going to love any of this, and I can already hear the comments that I'm going to be getting from this, but that's the most extreme case I think I've ever seen. And when they asked, one of the lawyers, they reached out to a lawyer who deals with HOA law, and he can't recall that he ever heard of a case actually going to court like this, and then obviously someone getting thrown in jail for 7 days. So obviously this story had a few elements to it other than just not taking care of her lawn. She had the mailbox, she had a vehicle, and we'll talk about vehicles in a little bit. I know some of you are saying, didn't they change that law and you can have commercial vehicles? Yes and no, it depends. And I know that's kind of a dumb answer, but we'll get to it a little bit later. But obviously this is not the norm, and most people just end up getting a fine if they don't adhere to the HOA rules, and it does happen. And in the state of Florida, you would not believe how many people live in an HOA.
84% of newly built single-family homes sold in 2022 belong to what's called a homeowners association.
So in the state of Florida, 3.9 million homeowners out of the 8.9 million homeowners we have live in a community governed by an HOA. That's nearly 45% of all homeowners in the state of Florida. All right, but let me tell you about another story. This one happened to a friend of mine, and this one definitely is an overreach from the HOA, and I would love to blow them up, but I can't because I don't want to get sued for slander. But this is another example of an HOA just being really bad. So one of my friends has a house here in Florida, and they have a dog, and they have a fenced-in yard. One day they get a notice with a picture of the dog poop. Now, it wasn't out here in the common area like you see out here, right? Most of this are people's lawns, but some of this area out here that we're going around, some of the grass is considered common area. I don't know the property lines on each of these homes, but I know that along the sidewalks and stuff, a lot of it's common area. And if you're in a neighborhood like this, you're required to pick up your dog poop, which is a huge pet peeve of mine, because if you can't pick up your dog poop, you really shouldn't own a dog. It's that simple. So his dog pooped in his backyard, his fenced-in backyard, and this HOA took a picture. Now, I spoke to my friend, and in order for them to get that picture, they had to step over property line, meaning trespassing. They had to step on his property to take that picture, which you don't have a right to do that. That's called trespassing. And I know when they pass some of the new laws, you don't have a right to go back in people's backyards. Now, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not claiming to be, and I'm not preaching law, folks, but I did read this, I talked about it, and one of the rules said that you can't go snooping around in your backyard. But they took a picture and they sent it to him and said, here's a $100 fine, you need to clean up your dog poop. Now, my friend tried to reach out to them, which of course they didn't reply or respond in a timely manner, right? They only expect you to do that. And he said, hey, that's in my backyard. Why are you taking a picture? And that's my private property. Yes, I pick up my poop, but I don't have to pick it up immediately. Just like my backyard, I may let the dogs poop for a day and then I go and pick it up the next day. I don't want it to accumulate because it is gross. But they said, no, you know the rules. You're not allowed to poop. You have to pick it up. And so they sent him a bill. Well, when he tried to say, can he come talk to them about it and schedule an appointment and sent them an email, they didn't respond for a while. And then when they did respond, they said, great, you can come in on this date. Well, he was going on vacation. Wasn't going to be in town on that date. He was actually going to be, look at all these geese, Egyptian geese. What's up, fellas? He was out of the country on a cruise, and he wasn't going to be around on that date, and said, can we pick another date to come and have this meeting? Well, again, they didn't respond. The next thing he got was an invoice for $500 because they added a late fee and a penalty for not paying the initial $500. Now you can imagine he was pretty ticked off about that, and they did not care. Now, obviously trying to pursue a lawyer and sue them over this would cost a whole lot more than $500, and so they decided to just go ahead and deal with their fine and pay it. But that's absolutely an abuse of an HOA in that situation. And things like that do happen, which is why you folks on this channel absolutely do not like HOAs. That, for example, right there, I guarantee you, having a boat in your front yard is not allowed unless it's just there for a day. But if you're keeping that there for a while, I know that that is not allowed. So, because it says no boats, no commercial vehicles, no trailers. So, I wonder if they've gotten notices from the HOA about that. But even things like roofs, people can tell you that you have to have your roof cleaned. We've had our roof and they had to clean it. So it just depends on where you live and what your HOA rules are. But getting fined for not picking up poop in your own backyard, well, I guarantee you I'd have a real problem with that one. All right, so there are two extreme cases. I don't know about extreme. The one was extreme. The other one was super annoying to my friend, and he had to pay $500. So I know you guys are, I can already see the comments from that. I was pissed off. I'm still pissed off. He's a friend of mine. And I was like, man, by the way, if there's any HOA lawyers out there, if they're like, who, I shouldn't say HOA lawyers, but people who fight HOAs, if you're a lawyer, I would love to talk to you. I would love to interview you on my channel. But yeah, I would just like to hear from you, because that just seems criminal that they could go on your private property, take a picture of the poop, and then fine you for it. And yes, we have rules, as I said about my neighborhood. Pick your poop up if it's not on your land, if it's not your front yard, backyard. Yes, pick up your poop out in the common areas, because you don't own that land, so you have no right to leave your dog crap there. But in your own backyard, dude, my dogs will go poop 3 times a day. I'm not out there picking it up every time. I'll get it in the morning and the evening because I'm that way. I don't want to step in it, and I think it's disgusting, and the summer heat doesn't make it smell good. But that's my backyard, so I do pick it up. All right, so let's talk about what's going on in 2025, because it is a new year and there are some laws, and we're going to talk about some of the things that changed in 2025 that affect you and what HOAs have to do. And some of it's good, some of it may not even make any difference, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless. First one is a community with 100 parcels, right? If they have 100 units or more, it's mandatory that they have a website, which this was January 1st of this year, so they should have it up by now. They should have a website, and on that website, it should have access to all the documents, all those documents you said you never saw. They should be on there. You should have a password because you're a homeowner, and you should be able to log in and get all your documents, and you can look at all the rules. And that is part of one of the new laws that passed. So if you don't have 100 parcels, then I guess you don't have to do it, but you should make your documents easily available. So along with having a digital copy of all your documents, it should also have all your meeting notices. Hey, I didn't get notified of the meeting. Now you have a website. Now you'll get notified if you go check your website. And they probably send an email out too, but if not, check your website and you'll see that you're having a meeting. And they're also supposed to have the minutes of the meeting. So all that should be on there for you to be able to access and be able to look at your documents or give them to your realtor if you're thinking of selling your property. They also must maintain official records for at least 7 years. They must give you financial reports annually about where the money is being spent. For, like, you see all the landscapers around this community, right? That's out of the budget. They pay for that. So they need to let you know who did they hire and how much they're spending for that, or light repairs, or the playground and the tennis courts that just went past. They also need to have available online reserve studies and budgeting and financing, so you know how the HOA is budgeting the money that they collect from you each month. On top of that, they also have to have policy and procedures for assessments. They need to have procedures for how they're going to assess regular monthly assessments as well as special assessments. All that has to be kept for 7 years, and it's supposed to be available on the website, or at least a lot of the information for you, the homeowner. Now, I don't know specifically if the record retentions have to be on the website, but they do need to have them. So they may keep them, I guess, at an office, but the other stuff has to be on the website. It didn't say whether that had to be on there or not. So when you have directors, right, new and existing directors, within 90 days of becoming a director, they have to get educated. They have to get educated on things like contracts, financing, transparency, how to negotiate contracts with the vendors. No more can it just be somebody who just says, hey, I'm going to volunteer for this position, and then they have no idea what they're doing. And when it comes to hiring contractors, they've never had any experience in negotiating contracts for the HOA. So they need to learn about financial literacy and transparency. That's a big one. A lot of you guys have complained about that. So within 90 days of assuming that office, they have to have that course or take that course, and they have to repeat it every 4 years. Now this one, everybody should like. Disclosing any personal ties to any of the vendors. So one of my friends that I was talking to the other day talked about the HOA where they live. And they all had to get new mailboxes, right? Because HOA just, whatever, they needed new mailboxes. So they went out and they got a contract. And the guy said it would cost this much, like $500 something for a new mailbox for every homeowner. And my friend was like, well, wait a minute. Who picked this vendor, and why are we using this company that's far away and not local where we are? And turns out that one of the board members, it was her brother. So yeah, let's slide my brother the contract and do a little favoritism. Well, no more. You have to disclose that, and then people can say, yeah, no, we don't like that. I don't care if he's your dad, your husband, wife, whatever. We don't like that unless they're giving us a super good deal. You can't have your buddy be the one who gets the contracts. No favoritism there. So that's got to be disclosed. So I think that's a big one, because we know that's been going on for years in South Florida. All right, so caps on fines and liens. So when you do get a violation, like my friend got a violation for $100 and then it escalated to $500, well, apparently now they have a cap on how much they can put on you, or if they put a lien on your house because you have a violation, because they can do that. They can lien your house, which I know, again, that's why you guys don't like HOA. This looks like a good spot to park it. Yeah, nice. So one other thing, there now are criminal penalties for kickbacks and financial mismanagement, which there should be, right? So if these people are mismanaging the money, like the HOA in Miami that was embezzling millions of dollars, buying cars and boats and trips and all that, and they got busted. So they have stricter penalties for that, as well as, like I said, kickbacks to, your friend, your buddy there who's gonna come pressure wash all the streets for you, and a little kickback. So no, can't do that anymore. All right, well, let's talk about the one that I know a lot of you want to know about, and that is parking of vehicles and what you can park. Now that is a big one, because HOAs have been notoriously strict about what you can park and where you can park it in a homeowners association. I will tell you, I see this one person park their truck in the grass all the time in the HOA, and it's not their property. They're parking, it's borderline theirs, borderline the shared area, but they shouldn't be parking their truck in the grass. I mean, this is an HOA, we have a driveway. Problem is they have too many vehicles, but they should have thought about that before they bought in there. They have like, I don't know how many people living in the house, but there's like 6 vehicles there. So no. And when you buy, they usually tell you, hey, you have a driveway, you can fit as many vehicles in the driveway or in your garage, but their garage is full of a bunch of crap, so is mine. But you know what? I don't park in the grass, I park in the driveway. So my neighbor has 2 vehicles and then a third. He parks 2 this way and 1 this way, but he's in the driveway. So it can be done, but again, some people don't care. Well, in 2025, they passed a new law that said HOAs cannot tell you that you can't park commercial-like vehicles in your driveway or in a designated parking area. Now, this rule only applies to certain HOAs, and this is what I learned from last year. There's a little term called Kaufman language, and let me read it to you. So Kaufman language refers to a phrase in documents and legal documents as amended from time to time. Language derived from a 1977 case of Kaufman versus Scheer, and it dictates whether new state laws apply to HOAs governing documents. If the HOA documents have Kaufman law in their language, then even if it goes against what their rules say, they have to adhere to it. So if they have a rule that says you cannot park a commercial van in your driveway, and the new state law in Florida says they can, then you have a right to park it. Again, don't take Paul's word for it. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just telling you what I read, because it says if the HOA documents don't have Kaufman language, which from my understanding, a lot of them do not, then they don't have to adhere to the new state laws, and they can keep making the same rules that they've always made. And that is, if you park a commercial vehicle, they're going to put a big red sticker on your window, and then they're going to start fining you for it. With that, if you like these videos, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and click the bell so you can get notified every time I make a new video. I upload new videos every Sunday at 10 a.m. Now, speaking of subscribing, boy, did you guys listen and help me out. Well, we did it, folks. A few weeks ago, we hit 30,000 subscribers, and I could not be happier. And as I have been saying all year long, I said when I hit 30,000 subscribers, I would jump in a pool wearing a suit. I have no idea why. It was a dumb idea, but I made a promise, and Palm Beach's Paul is going to keep it. So, all right, I've been talking about it all year. I told you guys, if you help me reach 30,000 subscribers, I would do something, why, I have no idea, foolish, wear a suit, and jump in the pool. So, we reached 30,000 thanks to you guys and gals and everybody. Super happy. We're actually at 32,000. Next stop 50. Don't know what we're going to do. Maybe you guys can give me some ideas down in the comments. But, as promised, Palm Beach's Paul keeps his word. We're jumping in the pool. All right. 30,000, baby. 1, 2, 3. Get out, enjoy paradise.